Cinema Steven here, and this is a retro review of Reality Bites. Reality Bites just celebrated its 30th anniversary, and it was actually a couple of months ago, but I just remembered thinking about how it came out in '94, so I went to double check the date, and yeah, it just celebrated its 30th anniversary. This is another one of those mind-blowing movies where, oh yeah, I was alive and I was a kid when a movie came out 30 years ago, so that's fantastic. But as for the movie itself, Reality Bites, if you watch it today, it is basically opening up a time capsule of Gen X 90s era filmmaking. Everything about it just screams 1994. The look, the fashions, the music, the soundtrack, just everything, how the editing is. It's got this fast paced type of kinetic energy. Just everything about it just screams 1994. And that's another reason why it makes it better to watch it today, because you go and you watch it today and there are a lot of things about it that still hold up from a social perspective. Like the characters are still very much relatable. They're a group of kids that just graduated college with not really any clear direction of where they want to be in their lives, much like all of us were when we were finished with high school, college. If we dropped out of both, it doesn't matter. You're still on this trajectory of the unknown. And the movie stars Winona Ryder, which at the time I would say is probably the peak of her prowess. This is when she's coming off of a lot of movies, Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, and this is a situation where she was the lead character, and she plays a character named Lelena Pierce, who is in that same boat. She also graduated as valedictorian of her college, so she's got that extra added pressure to do something great with her life. Well, she goes on and has a group of friends that are played by Ethan Hawke, Steve Zahn, and Janine Garofalo, a cast that also screams 90s. But the funny thing about it is that it's essentially a love triangle whenever she meets Ben Stiller's character, who also directed this movie. This was actually his directorial debut. So, first Ben Stiller directed movie. So, there's another iconic shot towards it. And she's in a situation where he's a media producer and she's trying to film this videography, kind of real world type documentary about her friends, and life in the 90s. And, so she strings up a relationship with him. But also, Ethan Hawke's character, played as Troy, he's a guy that I remember at the time just thinking he is so cool. He's so edgy. He gets all the babes. He's in a band. Like, he's a philosophical type of individual. Like, this guy is so smart and cool. And, watching it as an adult, I will say that maturity is knowing that Troy is actually a scumbag and he treats women terribly. So in that regard, did not hold up. Ethan Hawke is not the hero that I once thought he was in this movie, but it's okay. The movie also hinges on the relationship between him and Winona Ryder, and there are situations that transpire that I will not spoil because you can watch this movie. It is on Peacock, and if you really want to crack open this whole Generation X type movie, I would definitely go with Reality Bites. And I also wanted to say something about the soundtrack of this movie. The soundtrack is very iconic. It has so many songs in it that if you even heard it, you would be like, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty popular song." It has the knack, my Sharona, U2, Dinosaur Jr., and of course, Lenny Kravitz. Ethan Hawke even sings in the band that he plays in this movie. He sings a song on the soundtrack, and of course, you cannot think of the Reality Bites soundtrack without thinking of Lisa Loeb's "Stay." That's one of the most iconic '90s songs, period. And not only that, but Ethan Hawke actually directed the video for "Stay." And what was actually impressive about that video is the fact that it's a one-shot take. Lisa Loeb's walking around the video. If you've seen the video, she just walks around her apartment and the camera never moves from her. It stays on her as she just walks throughout the entire thing. It's a one-shot take. It took them 2 times to actually film that video, which is extremely impressive. Even though it's a, 3.5 minute song, it still takes a lot of preparation and camera work to get that done. But like I said, if you really want to crack open 1994, and I think you should watch Reality Bites. It's currently streaming on Peacock.